Okay, done. So today's topic is why aren't we Christian? This is one of the topics from confirmation class that we've selected for all of you today. And it's an interesting one. It's something that I think we all know about intuitively, but we don't really talk about it. We don't really articulate what is it about Christianity that we don't find appealing. And then most especially, why is it that we remain true to Judaism? Why we chose and continue to choose Judaism? Now, I say choose Judaism because, normally that language is reserved for people who convert to Judaism. And on this call, in this Zoom class, are people who have converted to Judaism. But they are not alone in choosing Judaism, because in fact, each of us choose Judaism each and every day, because at any moment, we could convert to Christianity, or if not doing something so, dramatic or treasonous as jumping to a different faith, but simply just abandon Judaism, which is the more common way that people leave Judaism, is just stop practicing, not doing, not engaging, and not taking part in the Jewish community. That option is ever before us, and we have seen our lifelong friends, our siblings, our other Jews who just sort of, fell away. We know it's a possible path that's open to us, but we choose otherwise. We have chosen to be Jewish each and every day. We continue that choice. So we're going to reflect on that, not that what we know in our heart, we're going to actually explicitly examine today. In today's topic, why aren't we Jewish? The sixth of our hot topics, all taken from the confirmation class curriculum, but now offered to adults, because why should kids get all the good stuff? They don't deserve it anyway. What have they done? I mean, really. So we get to do it now. Janet, I feel like you've already made a lot of announcements. I feel like I think we're going to skip the announcements and let's just get going forward. Today's session is going to be divided in two. The first session is going to reflect on Jewish understanding, or I guess of not just really of Christianity, but of what is it about Christianity that Jews don't find appealing? And second, we're going to talk about why is it that Jews keep affirming Judaism. So let's go to our text. We'll do a screen share. Why aren't you coming up? Oh, you know what? Let me just prepare it real fast because I don't want to give away the end at the beginning. There we go. And here we go. Screen share. Why aren't we Christian? So here's our topic. I hope everyone can see it. I can see Pam and Janet. If you guys can see this, can you just shake your head up and down? Okay, good. So I know you're seeing what you're supposed to. We are going to study a few texts today, not many, but some precious ones, including a passage of Torah, a passage from the prophets, a passage from rabbinic literature, and two modern passages from modern rabbis. So all of that counts as the study of Torah, obviously studying Torah passage, but anything of Jewish tradition. And this is a sacred act, so let us say the blessing together as we begin. It's not just fun being together, it's not just stimulating and interesting. This is a mitzvah, what we're doing to study together. So good for you. You're doing a mitzvah right now. Together we say the blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Blessed are you, Lord our God, ruler of the universe, who sanctifies us with the commandments and commands us to engage in words of Torah. Let's go to our first text. We are going to start with a passage from the Torah, from the book of Deuteronomy. And I'm going to see if, let me see if I can get a glimpse of all of you real quick. Is there anyone who wants to be a reader? Let's maybe some new ones because who didn't do it the other day. Maybe three readers today. Just raise your hand if you would be a reader today. Keep it up because I can't see everyone at once. Lynn Friedman will be one reader. Lynn Sachs. Can we go all Lynn's today? Alice Cotman. Lynn, Alice. And I'm gonna, when the time comes, ask you to go ahead and unmute yourself. Lynn Sachs, why don't you go first? Lynn Sachs, unmute yourself. And please read from Deuteronomy chapter 13. Can you see it? Should I make it bigger? Oh, you were unmuted and then you muted again.
Okay.
There you go.
If there appears among you a prophet or a dream diviner, and he gives you a sign or a portent, saying, let us follow and worship another God, whom you have not experienced, even if the sign or portent that he named to you comes true, do not heed the words of that prophet or that dream diviner. For the Lord your God is testing you to see whether you really love the Lord your God with all your heart and soul. Follow none but the Lord your God, and revere none else. Observe God's commandments alone, and heed only God's orders. Worship none but God, and hold fast to the Lord.
Lynn, thank you. That was an excellent reading. I'm going to keep this text up for a little while so we could really look at it because there's a lot in it and it's remarkable. I mean, we're talking about Christianity. Of course, this text can't be talking about Christianity. It's 800 years before Christianity when this text was written, really 1,000 years with, if you figure, when the Gospels were written. So whatever it is, let's just say 800 years. This was 800 years before Christianity. So it's not written about Christianity. But what's interesting is that what we experience with Christian missionaries telling us, about the miracles and telling us about, to follow another God, that what has been our experience and the experience of our, 2,000 years of Judaism living among Christians most of that time, this is a forever issue. Even before there was Christianity, there were others telling us to follow another God because Deuteronomy wouldn't give us this commandment if it weren't a real life situation. It wouldn't say, don't follow these people if there weren't these people. So what we learn right away is not just the value of the Torah, but the situation of our ancient ancestors is that they had to deal with people ringing their doorbell and handing out pamphlets, so to speak, that they also had missionaries, people telling them that, you should come, listen to this guy. He just made all these miracles happen and let's go follow them. Oh, I'm gonna just go ahead and mute you for a minute, Lynn. And you can do these, he's done these miracles or he said something would happen and it came true. And note that Deuteronomy says, look, even if they promise to predict the future and they do it, you still don't follow them. Even if they, perform these seeming miracles, I mean, there's magicians out there, don't follow them. In fact, it's a test. It's all part of God's plan, lest you be led astray.
Rabbi?
And we're gonna get to questions now. I think Marlise was first, and then we'll go to Gordon. Marlise, what was your question or comment?
My question was, is the reason that Jesus is described as the Son of God and not God himself, that they in fact, as I understand it, kept the God of the Hebrews, but made Jesus his son? Is that because of this particular?
It's hard to say. Let's talk a little bit about Christianity, because obviously Christianity was born out of Judaism, and originally its adherents were Jews, and they sought to their followers initially, the first generation of Christians, sought followers among Jews. Everything changed in the second generation because of two events, really, or two factors. The first is they failed. They failed to get a significant number of adherents to follow and believe in Jesus as the Messiah and this, unique Son of God, and in fact, a Godhead himself. They failed to create a meaningful movement among Jews. And secondly, the other big thing that happened in the second generation of early Christians was Paul. Paul revolutionized Christianity and really made it Christianity, a separate religion, apart. Brenda, please mute yourself till it's your turn. Paul is the one who made it a separate religion in a explicit effort to make it more attractive to Gentiles. And so it was Paul who said, you no longer have to follow the covenant, demanding circumcision and not eating pork is really hurting our outreach. It's preventing us from making converts because people are balking at the circumcision, especially the men, and people are balking at the dietary customs. So Paul got rid of them and said, Jesus has, it's a new Torah. Jesus has supplanted that. And then you had this enormous influx of converts and followers from the Gentile world. And so Christianity became a religion of Gentiles. It started as a religion of Jews. In fact, the first generation, you wouldn't even call them Christians. You would just call them Christo-Jews or Jewish followers of Jesus or Jewish believers in the Messiah, the Messiahship of Jesus, because they were still Jews. They still self-identified as Jews. They were frankly not all that different from dozens and dozens of other sects at that time that departed from mainstream Judaism and were caught up in a messianic fervor. Most famously the Essenes and the Zealots, which we know from Josephus and we know from history. Those were much more popular and successful branch groups of Jews that were caught up in a messianic fervor, thinking that the end of days was upon us with the Romans coming and the destruction of the temple, the loss of our sovereignty. They really felt that this was the end of times. The Christians were just one of many, many, many groups that had sort of that were popular among Jews, but they were not even in the top 3, 4, or 5 most popular in their early days. And out of that lack of gaining sway among Jews, they redirected toward Gentiles, toward the pagan population to find converts. And there, in time, they were marvelously successful. You may have heard of Christianity. It's the largest religion in the world, but it's not of Jews. They started of Jews. The 12, disciples were all Jewish. They were, it started among Jews, but by 50 years later, it was now a religion of Gentiles because they abandoned the hope of, having success in getting Jews to believe that Jesus was the Messiah. And we're going to look at that, why Jews don't believe that Jesus is the Messiah. So we will get to that, but I don't want to just yet. That was a long answer to a short question, but it had to come up, so I'm glad we brought it up. Marlise, was it? No, you were the first one. Gordon, I think, is next, and then Pam D'Ambrosio. Gordon, go ahead and unmute yourself and make your comments or question.
Well, that was an interesting and a strong passage, and it's 800 years before Christianity began. Who wrote it?
Well, Deuteronomy, well, first of all, that's a taboo question. If you were here 2 days ago, you would know I'm not talking about who wrote the Torah because that's its own topic, but Deuteronomy, who wrote Deuteronomy? Deuteronomy is the most recent of the 5 books of the Torah. It was probably written in the time of King Josiah. So we actually, of all the books of the Torah, we have our best bet in dating the book of Deuteronomy. And shoot, off the top of my head, I wish I could tell you exactly what century it is. But if anyone wants to go online real fast and be the first to look up when King Josiah lived, Josiah, you could be the winner and tell us how old most likely the book of Deuteronomy is. Go ahead and just call it out, Cindy, if you know.
No, I had a question.
Oh, okay. Anyone know when King Josiah? Well, we'll get it in time when someone's ready to answer it. It could be in the chat. Oh, there's 4 chats. Hold on. Let's see if someone answered in the chat. No, it's not in the chats yet. Whatever it is, it was really old. I'm just going to guess that King Josiah is around the 8th, 9th century before the Common Era, 8th century, let's guess.
I got it here.
640,
Says born
609 before the
648
Common
BC.
Era.
Oh,
Says
2 of you were talking at once, Roz and Lynn. So just try to say it again.
It says
Okay. Go ahead.
8 BC to 609 BC.
Right.
So, and I have 648 BCE.
All right, 7th century before the Common Era. I was off, but that's about when Deuteronomy was written. So, well, I was right the first time. It's about 800, 700 years before Christianity, because Christianity is really going to come, be born as a religion in the generations following the death of Jesus. It starts as a movement with Jesus, becomes a religion later. So that's when Deuteronomy was written. Who wrote Deuteronomy? You know, I'm sorry, that's a new topic. Who wrote the Bible, which we just can't get into today because it's too interesting and needs its own session. Opening up the floor, I think Pam and then Cindy Silverglass.
Okay. In the passage, it said, follow no other gods, basically.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's the thing. Our religion, our foundation is based on one God. But when you look at the Christians, they have the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost, Mary, multiple gods right there. It's very, very confusing. And, you know, just would stop me right in my tracks from following that.
So what you bring up, we'll stop the share for a moment. What you brought up is, you know, is Christianity, you know, is a really complex religion because it is absorbed so many other customs and cultures and religions through its expanding quality, that is, as it absorbed other people, it absorbed their holidays that they incorporated into Christianity. It absorbed their gods into Christianity. It absorbed their cultic practices, particularly Catholicism, Pam, that you're most familiar with, working with the Catholics. So much of Catholicism is so anathema to Jewish culture. I mean, it's one thing to believe that Jesus is the Messiah. It's another thing to have an enormous depiction of him on the altar, bleeding on a cross, that is so, sort of contrary to our ways and practices. But all of the saints and the holy relics and the things that are fundamental to Catholic practice aren't Jewish, but they adopted the cultures and the ways of Romans and Greeks and other people, as Christianity or Catholicism as it was at the time only defined Christianity, as it grew, it really became much more and more a Gentile religion and practice, but it started among Jews. So there's still Jewish vestiges to it. Most famously, of course, their Old Testament, which is our Bible, but other things too about Christianity. One of them is that they will not betray their belief, or their, I should say, their dogmatic stated belief in the unity of God, although so much of Christianity actually has multiple Godheads. In Catholicism, of course, it's the Trinity, but not just Catholics, who most famously wrestle with the three, which they say are one, but it's still three, you know, and so forth. But also, you know, evangelicals elevate Satan to a way that we Jews would say that they've made Satan a god and practice dualism, which is they see the world as a fight between good and evil, between God and Satan, or Jesus and Satan. And so that in Jewish eyes is also a polytheistic, dualist religion, because they have multiple divine entities that are antagonistic toward each other, which is completely anathema to Jewish tradition. While we might have angels, we might have angelic retinue, including a character named Satan, who sometimes argues with God, but our angels and our Satan have no power other than what God grants them temporarily to do God's will. We are adamantly monotheists, and so we look at Christianity, whether in its Catholic form with the Trinity, or in, you know, evangelicals or others who practice a dualism. We see that as foreign and strange in our eyes. Cindy, you're next.
Excuse me. Yes, the question I had was in relationship to the passage you showed in Deuteronomy. Which came first? I mean, we believe in the Ten Commandments, which says we shall not do false idols. We should not pray to false idols. And then Deuteronomy says that same thing there. So which came first? Did the Ten Commandments come first, or this passage in the Bible? Because that's what I'm saying.
Oh, well, first of all, the Ten Commandments is twice in the Torah, and once in Exodus and once in Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy comes later. It's the final testament of Moses before he dies, and it's a restatement of previous passages of the Torah with some other points of emphasis. Deuteronomy restates the Torah, but it does emphasize a few things, and most especially and famously, it emphasizes prohibitions against idol worship, which the first 4 books of the Torah aren't really concerned with idol worship very much, hardly mention it, but Deuteronomy talks about it all the time. And so this passage is really in keeping with its Deuteronomic style and emphasis, by, you know, really wanting to make sure Jews are stay loyal, stay loyal, stay loyal. It's really the sort of fundamental emphasis of Deuteronomy and how it differs from the first 4 books of the Torah. But it doesn't contradict the Ten Commandments. It's just a re-emphasis of one of the Ten Commandments, which is, you know, don't make molten, you know, gods, and, you know, and I am the Lord your God, which is the first. Keep in mind in Jewish tradition that, you know, the first commandment, we have the 10, but we don't call them the 10 commandments traditionally in Judaism, because it's really one statement and 9 commandments. And the first one is, I am the Lord your God, and then you shall have no other gods beside me. This is very much in keeping with the 10 commandments. It's just it's a further and explicit emphasis of it, saying, and if anyone comes to lure you, don't fall for it. Don't fall for miracle doers. Don't fall for anyone who predicts the future and tells you, aha, see, I got the power, come with me to follow another God. And apparently, 800 years before Christianity, this was happening to our people. So Deuteronomy's author felt the need to write it. And frankly, every generation of Jews, from ancient Israelites to this very day, continues to deal with people luring us away, knocking on our door, as it were, and handing out pamphlets or speaking of miracles. Now, Christians speak of walking on water and water into wine and loaves and fishes and resurrection and so forth, but they're not the only ones, as Deuteronomy shows us and history shows us, who have promised miracles and that the Messiah has come and it is so-and-so, come follow us. And by the way, Jews have followed. And we're going to talk today about a very famous case of Shabbatai Tzvi later on. Jews have followed other, messianic pretenders, including Jesus. It's not like no Jews have ever, converted to Christianity. But by and large, Jews have not. And most Jews in every generation have stayed true and loyal to our one God, whom we call Adonai.
Thank you.
All right, well, why don't we keep the floor open? This has been very fruitful. We may not do any other text today. Phyllis and then Roz. Oh, you have to unmute yourself. Why don't both of you go ahead and unmute yourselves? All right, Roz, you first, and then Phyllis.
So would you say that the basic tenet of Christianity is that Jesus is the Messiah?
Yes, you would have to, because look, there's other principles in Christianity, but if someone denies that Jesus is the Messiah, that Jesus is the source of redemption, it's hard to argue that they're Christian.
Okay, so why?
So while other, various Christian movements will have, different tenets or dogmas or statements of faith, they all, in the Venn diagram, they all overlap there, that Jesus is the Messiah.
And so why is it that he became the Messiah? What made him the Messiah?
Well, he may or may not have said he was, but his disciples did.
Oh,
And so the disciples, and then of course the four Gospels declare him to be the Messiah. And so they said that, and I figured we were going to talk about this next, which is,
Okay.
What is the Messiah? Because, that's not going to come up in the Torah. The concept of the Messiah comes later. But Jews for centuries before Jesus came on the scene were anticipating a Messiah, an ultimate end of days redemption in which God will send a chosen one, heralded by Elijah, following a great upheaval and a tumult and a great calamity and war, and out would come a Messiah who would be king but humble, riding on a donkey, and this Messiah will lead the coming of the new era, the dawn of and fulfill the vision of the prophets of a true and lasting peace when all come to accept that, the Lord is God of all the world, and all humanity will be either killed or united in faith behind, is show that we are right, that God is the one God, and that's the Messiah. And so Jews in the 2nd century before the Common Era, in the 1st century before the Common Era, in the 3rd century even before the Common Era, were anticipating a Messiah who would bring about this redemption sent by God. And there were those who said, I'm that Messiah, follow me, listen to me. And there were those who said, that guy there is that Messiah. One such messianic movement were the followers of Jesus who believed him to be the Messiah, and they declared it so. But most of the Jews didn't go with them and didn't believe. And we're going to get to why that is. Why didn't Jews accept Jesus as the Messiah? But not just yet. I want to get to our next text before we do that. Phyllis.
Okay, so that was my question.
Oh, okay.
Messianic Jews, and actually, I didn't.
Oh, well, Messianic Jews is a different thing, and we should address that.
Okay.
So Messianic Jews and Jews for Jesus is a fraud. They are not Jews, but they call themselves Jews. Now, there are some people who are part of Jews for Jesus or Messianic congregations who are of Jewish heritage. It's not like they don't exist, but the vast majority of people who participate in Jews for Jesus and Messianic churches have never been Jewish, do not come from Jewish roots, and in many cases, their quote unquote rabbis have changed their name to Jewish sounding names. They were born, Fred Murphy, and they changed their name to Yankel Rabinowitz. I'm not even kidding. I mean, it's that absurd to take on the airs of Jewishness. Jews for Jesus was started by a Christian Messianic organization. It was from the Missouri Synod of the Lutheran Church that started Jews for Jesus as a way to try to achieve the goal of 2,000 years, which is to convert the Jews to Christianity. It is a fraudulent, corrupt, pretense to say that it's of the Jews that we can adopt Jesus and still be Jewish. That is a lie, because the Jewish community rejects. If someone adopts Jesus, whatever. Look, we don't hope he gets struck by lightning, Zygas aren't, but you're out of here. You're not part of the Jewish community. If you adopt, and accept Jesus, you're no longer Jewish, you're Christian. And you're outside our circle of self-identity. And so for Jews, there is obviously no such thing as Jews for Jesus. It's a paradox and a contradiction. And as it turns out, the very term was invented by Christians with the goal of misleading.
All right, now, did the rabbis have any those that are calling themselves rabbis, do they have any training in Judaism? Or?
No. I mean, they in their like gonzo wacko Judaism, they study things, and so some of them read Hebrew, but it's, they try to take on the trappings of Jewishness. They'll celebrate Sukkot, they'll celebrate, a Passover Seder, but they make it all about Jesus, the wine and so they try to take on the trappings of Jewishness. But you look, and some of them are sincere, like they feel that they, as other Christians, not just the Messianic Jews, Christians, that try to take on Jewish trappings because they feel that, Jesus was Jewish and it brings them closer to Jesus to follow, Jewish holidays or Jewish customs. And they're not in it to try to convert the Jews. They're just, trying to be true to their own faith and their love of Jesus. And, that's fine. It causes problems for us, those Christians. Most often, you see it when, the uncle at a bar mitzvah is wearing a tallis that they bought online and they didn't realize it's a Messianic tallis and it's got Jesus symbols all over it. And then you notice it because you're a rabbi and you're thinking, do I tell this guy that he's wearing a tallis that he just bought on Amazon that's got, that's got a fish and and other stuff on it? Or do you just, not say anything? And the answer is sometimes you do and sometimes you don't. What do you do? It's like, so sometimes it's annoying that there are Christians who take on the customs of Jews because you accidentally buy one of their taluses on Amazon, which is why you should only go to the Temple Emanu-El gift shop, where Alice will offer you catalogs to buy taluses where they will not inadvertently buy, you won't buy one that's got a fish on it or other symbols of Jesus. That's why you should shop at our gift shop. But that's not the point of today's lecture, but maybe it is. That's the point. What it all comes down to is the gift shop. Does there any other comments? This is a record. We are now 37 minutes into this class and we're still on text 1. Ellen and then Alice, go ahead. Both of you unmute yourselves and whoever's first goes first. Ellen, I think.
I wanted to share something that just surprised me so much, and I only learned it maybe within the last 10 years or so. I have a very good friend who's Catholic, and I questioned her about something that I had never understood about how they could have all these false images, all these idols, as far as I was concerned, in their churches. I said, when the second commandment clearly tells you that you cannot. And she said, what are you talking about? And I listed the commandments. She said, I never learned those commandments. So I started looking it up. And I found there is a whole second set, more than second, but I was concerned with the Christian idea of it, a whole second set of commandments that does not have that. And therefore they could, yes, from a legitimate site.
So is your friend Catholic?
Yes.
Okay, so one of the defining differences between Catholics and Protestants is accessibility to the text. So, I mean, there's obviously other differences too. You know, one has a pope and the other doesn't and so forth, but actually that's related. Catholics do not look to the text. So the Catholic, you say it's in the Bible, it's in the 10 Commandments, that's meaningless. That's like gobbledygook to a Catholic. Because Catholics aren't Bible readers. They're not, what is told to Catholics is the party line from the church. So the church offers, this is what we believe in. Now, their scholars will go read the Bible, the Jesuits will study it, but the Joe Catholic or Juanita Catholic, your typical Catholic is not a Bible reader. They're not a go to the sources and ask the questions and look it up themselves. The priest tells you, and the priest, the bishop had told the priest, and the cardinal had told the bishop, or did I get that backwards?
Well,
and the Pope had told the cardinal, this is what is. And so Catholics they're not interested in the fact that the Old Testament might say this, because that's not their religious tradition. Now, Protestants, if you had made that case to a Protestant, then they're going to be like, well, because such and so. But mostly it's because of Paul, who said that the original covenant, the 613 commandments, was overruled by the coming of Jesus. It's a new Torah through Jesus. Jesus is the embodiment of a new era and a new way. And it's the end of legalism.
10 commandments.
It's the end of legalism with Jesus. That's Paul's innovation, which comes later. Jesus didn't say that. Jesus didn't say, stop, we're going to stop observing the commandments. It comes later. Jesus hinted at it. Let me rephrase that. Jesus hinted at it in some of the Gospels that his way is going to supplant. But it becomes really the religion of Paul, who's really makes it a new covenant, that the covenant with the Jews is over, and or as the Christians, early Catholic Church used to phrase it, out of the stump of Judaism came the living branch of Christianity, namely that the covenant of Jews, that God's relationship with Judaism was over, and it's a stump, it's a dead entity, and out of it was born the branch, the living branch of Christianity. That's how early Christianity saw itself in the relationship to Judaism.
So if you looked at the first part of the Bible, as the Catholics would call it, the Old Testament, would it, in their hands, would it have this set of 10 commandments that I
Absolutely,
found,
verbatim, as we would too. I've got a Catholic Bible. I've got one. By the way, it's very useful to have a Catholic Bible because only the Catholic Bible has the books of Maccabees readily available because they canonized it. So if you ever wanted to read, the story of Hanukkah in its most original form, which of course wasn't all that original because it itself was written later, oddly enough, it didn't get canonized in our Bible, but it did get canonized in the Catholic Bible. So that's why I bought a Catholic Bible, because it was handy, and this was before the internet when I bought it, so you couldn't just look it up. But I'm going to reject the premise of your question, because you just said the Bible that a Catholic would hold in their hand. The Catholics don't hold Bibles in their hands. The Protestants do.
And they, more
the Protestants do.
Schools.
All right. So who was next? Someone
Alice.
was waiting, and I can't remember. Alice and then Adrian.
Yeah.
And
Well,
yeah.
Yeah, there was just a comment that several years ago, the Jews for Jesus people, the Messianic Jews, came into the gift shop. They were having a Seder, and they bought a whole bunch of Seder plates for the different tables. I was just wondering, are they still here?
Oh, yes.
I haven't seen them in a long
By
time.
some counts, there may be more Messianic Jews, i.e., Christians who Judaize than there are Jews in America.
Wow.
It's a large number. And you'll see Messianic congregations in Sarasota and everywhere you go.
Yeah, I haven't seen them lately.
There are probably more Americans who are Christians who Judaize than there are Jews. I mean, it's an astoundingly large number. But we've won more Nobel Prizes. And, and have more members of Congress. I mean, so we won. No, the Adrian.
Just one little personal note. We lived in the Florida Keys in Marathon for 14 years. And as you might imagine, we met some interesting people. And one was a priest in a Catholic church, the next key over from Marathon. And he had been having a Passover Seder for years and years. And when he met us and found out that we were the real deal, he asked if we would run it. So I was skeptical. I didn't know what we would fall into. So I had discussions with him. And he said, this is a Passover Seder. There will be no mention of Jesus. There'll be no prayer about Jesus. He wore a tallis. I didn't want to tell him not to do that at Passover, and they had individual Seder plates for everyone, about 75 members of their parish who came. And we led the Seder, and I sang the songs the way it was due, and they loved it. But the first year, and they cooked a lamb, but they had rolls
Yeah.
at the dinner. So the next year, I said, no, remember the matzah and the story of the matzah? And they went, oh, I just never thought about it. They never appeared again in subsequent years.
Yeah.
They
So
never appeared.
what you're describing, Adrian, I'm going to cut off for a moment just because we've got about 80 people in the call, so I can't we can't dominate too much any one person. What Adrian's describing is actually not limited to one Catholic priest on a key in Florida. In fact, it's popular all over the country for Christian churches to have a Passover Seder for varying reasons, but most of them, it's again to feel some kind of kinship with Jesus. Most believe that Jesus is a practicing Jew, that the Last Supper or otherwise, which was in the springtime, that he would have had a Seder. Seder would have been important to him, and so they recreate a Jewish Seder in their church. Now, some of them make it Christological and will put in a lot of Christian elements in it, and some of them want to do a Jewish Seder, like our Seder, and even invite Jews like Adrian to come and lead it, to show us how do you do a Seder, because they want to feel like they're doing what Jesus and the disciples would have done. And you see that in Protestants and in Catholic in America that are not typically Judaizing. I mean, that's not their these are more normative mainstream Christians, but they want to try out Seder. They feel a real connection to Seder, perhaps because of the the Last Supper. As it turns out, their goals are a little off base, because the Seder, Adrian, you're going to give them like an authentic Jewish Seder. And an authentic Jewish Seder that all of us know and have experienced is a developing living organism that has elements that are ancient, but mostly it's rabbinic. And major components of it are early medieval and medieval. So what we think of as a traditional Seder would be completely foreign to the generation of Jesus. Keep in mind that Jesus' Passover was not principally, in the time of Jesus, was not principally a home observance. There was an aspect of it that was a home observance. There was the Paschal lamb offering. We don't do that. We have vestiges of it on the Seder plate, but we're not offering up a lamb, but mostly it was a communal activity. It was a pilgrimage to Jerusalem and to the temple and offering of sacrifices. That's what was done primarily on Passover. So in some ways, it's an anachronism. There are Christians today. This is a little bit off topic, but it's sort of related. There are Christians today who all over America who are interested in attending a Seder or putting on Seders in their churches, and they try to do an authentic Jewish Seder so that it would be like what Jesus did, but it's a fallacy. It's an anachronism, because what we think of as a classic Seder is real. Most of the elements are post the destruction of the temple, when Judaism became an observance separate from the animal sacrifice cultic practice at the temple in Jerusalem and pilgrimage, and it became a home holiday with readings. And many of the readings are biblical, but most of them are rabbinic, which would have been post Jesus. And a lot of our favorite parts are medieval. Chad Gadya, you go if you went in a time machine and you went back to the days of Jesus and you wanted to sing Adir Hu and Chad Gadya and who knows one, and you sing to the Jews and they'd be like, what are you talking about? That's hasn't been invented for over 1,000 years from now. Why are you singing that? Joni and then Bobby. Oh, Joni's having trouble unmuting herself. So Bobby, why don't you go, and then Joni, you work on unmuting yourself.
Hi, Rabbi. The only thing that I can really add that I truly believe is that regardless of a person's religious affiliation, I think the one common thread that we all have is that we love each other and that we take care of each other. Yeah. And if we are truly religious and godly, that is what we will do. That I think that is the main thing we have to do, is take care of each other and love each other in any way that we can.
That sounds good, Bobby. And it's because of that beautiful heart that we love you so much, Bobby. Joni, your turn.
Thank you. So you talk about Jesus as being a practicing Jew and his disciples being practicing Jews. Do you ever feel that his legacy got hijacked and that if he were reincarnated, if he were there some number of years later, that he might have stayed Jewish and he wouldn't have followed all this? I know that's all conjecture, but sometimes I feel like his memory is hijacked in lots of ways.
Oh my gosh, yes. So, I mean, and Christians talk about that all the time, about how his legacy, you know, especially liberal Christians who are so infuriated by the acts done in Jesus's name that are so diametrically opposed to direct statements attributed to him in the Gospels. But the truth is, and this is not really today's topic. I mean, we're talking now the history of Christianity, which we're focusing a little too much on today, but whatever, it's interesting. You know, Jesus was hijacked from the start. All four of the Gospels were written by people who never met Jesus. And they were all written later by people who were not born yet when Jesus was, you know, preaching in the Galilee, or, you know, on the steps of the temple in Jerusalem. So what we know about Jesus is really very little. It's hard to you can't even argue from the historical record definitively that there really ever was a Jesus. It was a common name. So yes, in the Roman records, there is a Jesus who was crucified. In fact, dozens and dozens of men named Jesus were crucified. We don't know. He wasn't popular enough to have made the news and to be recorded by any contemporary sources to verify that there even was a Jesus. But there probably was, you know, because there was enough testimony about it 100 to 200 years later that there probably was a guy named Jesus. But what he really said and what he really believed, how can we know when the only recordings of his words and deeds were written between 50 and 150 years after he died in the Gospels, which are the earliest accounts, or some of the letters and the, you know, they're all, you know, we just can't really know about what Jesus said. So people will argue about the Jesus of the Gospels. Okay, then that's the real Jesus. But even that, of course, we have to say may or may not have been the real Jesus. But yes, many, especially liberal Christians, lament how Jesus has been, the Jesus as depicted in the Gospels has been hijacked, because he, you know, he speaks on very liberal, revolutionary kinds of things in terms of sharing and peace and so forth, and how much, you know, violence and xenophobia has been, you know, carried out in his name, is a lament not just of us, but of Christians themselves. Joanne McGuire, you're next.
Thank you.
I went to a Catholic college, and I seem to recall reference to a historian named Josephus mentioning Jesus in real time.
No, Josephus, let me think. Yes, no, Josephus, you know, Josephus wouldn't
have been in Jesus's time.
I don't think did Josephus mention Jesus?
I remember being taught that. Of course, in a Catholic college, I was.
I want to look that one up.
Okay.
I would be skeptical of that, but maybe he did. I just don't know. I'm going to have to defer to anyone who wants to look it up on the internet right now. Bobby, please unmute yourself.
I've always wondered, when the topic this came up, it says, why aren't we Christian? I guess if someone could give me a definitive answer of why Christians pray to Jesus and not God. I pray to God. I'm not going to pray to somebody else. So, and everything is about Jesus, and they hardly ever talk about God. So that's why I would, one of many reasons, but what's the significance of that, Jesus versus God? Always Jesus, not referring to God.
Yes. So, Christianity is there are many Christianities. There are so many different movements and sects. It's hard to even call them all a religion of Christianity. And many of them have gone to war with each other over and over again. So, to call them a single body, is absurd, or a single religion. In many manifestations of Christianity, Jesus has completely supplanted God as the focus of the religion. So they pray to Jesus and trust in Jesus and have very little to do or concern with the Father or the Holy Spirit or any other aspect of their God, identity. And Jesus is more than the Messiah, the Son of God. Jesus, for many Christians, and particularly in America, Jesus is the principal form of God for them. And that's why, when it came up earlier, are they saying that Jesus is the Messiah or that Jesus is God? It's one thing to say that Jesus is the Messiah, but what we experience in Christianity is that they really see Jesus as God. And that, of course, would be contrary to, that would be a rival, that would be anathema, to Judaism. And so, no, Bobby, I share your same perception, but I really want to get to the other text. I prepared a lesson, but we've had fun. It's not like anything we haven't done hasn't been interesting. But out of respect to the lesson I prepared, I thought we would go to some of those texts, but we can go to them a little faster because some of the things I was going to bring up later, as it turns out, have already been addressed. Janet, did you have something you need to say?
I just wanted to say, I just wanted to say that I found something on Josephus. So supposedly, it is for the Jews slew him, although he was a most just man. Josephus said that the Jews killed Jesus, which was the beginning of all the problems that the Jews had in certainly in Europe and Russia, and because they killed Jesus. So I think that's a big problem.
I am suspicious of that. What is the source that you read that?
It says the source. What's it on in the internet? What did Josephus say about Jesus?
No, but the internet is. I'm saying, what's the source? What website?
It's just. I think it's Wikipedia. Looks like Wikipedia.
No, the first word, the very first one.
Eusebius attributes the following quote to Josephus. These things happen.
Okay, so it's not in the writings of Josephus.
No,
it's attributed to Josephus.
Right.
I can't imagine that Josephus has ever heard of Jesus, let alone would have written about Jesus.
Well, the problem is, supposedly, when people say
we have
he said that.
Josephus's writings. We have his writings. I'm just saying, other people might attribute things to him, but we have Josephus's writings. I can't imagine Jesus is mentioned in Josephus's writings.
I'm not trying to blame Josephus. I'm just concerned that people keep saying the Jews killed Jesus, and that's a problem for the Jews. It has been
another topic. So let's get back to our text. I'm going to invite everybody to go ahead and mute yourself if you're not. Oh, Susan Schlossberg, you had your hand up, so I feel bad. Go ahead, Susan. You had your hand up.
Super quick question.
Yeah.
I love stupid trivia, and I would.
Oh, shoot. I accidentally muted you, Susan. I was trying to mute someone else. Go ahead.
I would never do well on Jeopardy with the New Testament trivia. Do you learn that in rabbinical school?
Interesting. There was an elective I could have taken on Christianity. I didn't take it. I took one on Islam. Elaine took one on Christianity. So much, but I was engaged to Elaine at the time. So I did get to learn a lot while Elaine was taking that class. But, I live in the world. So I read things. After rabbinical school. My anniversary was 23 years since I was ordained. That was just last week. I've read since then and have read much more about Christianity than I did in rabbinical school.
Can I plant a bug in your ear super
Because
quick?
I skipped that elective.
That's
Yes.
all right. I'm planting a bug in your ear for another course at a future time because I don't want to touch it. I feel kind of dirty if I touch the New Testament, but maybe we can do a Jewish perspective on the New Testament. All right.
All right. So here on this call, Janet and Ellen
Correct.
are the chairs
Okay.
of adult ed. You heard her. The people who've spoken, they want to know who wrote the Bible and what do Jews think about the New Testament. But we'll just jot those down. We'll talk more about how to tackle that. All right. So now, Brenda, I got to mute you because we're going to go now back to our text. So, man, where are we here? Bing, boom. Okay. So, well, dang, we were supposed to go to our discussion now for people to share. Have you ever been encouraged to be Christian or anybody ever sought to convert you? You know what? I want to do that.
Good question.
So let me stop the share. We're going to do a breakout group, but we're going to do it quicker here. We're going to do a breakout group. And in this breakout group, what I want you to do is talk about is who's ever tried to convert you, or just if they weren't like really trying to convert you, just sort of been like, hey, why don't you just come with us to church once, or whatever. Who's ever tried to convert you? We're going to go to our breakout rooms now, and go ahead. Let's share our stories with each other. The rooms are open now. Go ahead and hit join and join the breakout group.
I don't have a big breakout room, Rabbi.
Well, I can get you into one. Oh, it says, 1 minute. Let me see why you're not. It says you've been assigned one. Let me see if I can find you. Where are you, Bill? And
Oh, wait a second. I've got that thing up here again.
yeah, hit it. Join. Kim, do you want to be in a breakout group? You pulled it off. Hey, Sherry, are you there? Hi, Sherry. You missed the breakout group, but we're about to come back anyway. Hey, Mary. Mary, we're in breakout session right now.
I left the breakout session.
All right.
I'm having a little trouble with this session. I might like to talk to you about it sometime.
Okay.
Okay.
Absolutely. We can do that. We might need to do it today, or we're going to have to wait because my vacation starts tomorrow.
Oh, your vacation. That's wonderful. No, we can wait. I have something. Actually, I have to leave in a minute anyway. Are we going to go to the second reading, passage of reading?
Yeah. I'm going to break up. I'm going to end the breakout rooms right now.
Well, the ones I heard in my breakout session had not had any proselytizing occur to them. So that's good.
Oh, really? Interesting. How's that possible?
I don't know. I mean, at least the Jehovah's Witnesses or the Mormons or somebody.
I know.
My father used to say when they would come to the door, he'd say, if you have to sell your religion door to door, I'm not interested. Click.
Oh, I had a friend who used to pray for me every night. She probably still does, that I will see the light and convert, so I'll be saved. She's very devout Baptist, and she prays for me.
I had a babysitter who I had a headache, wasn't feeling well, and she laid her hands on me when I was a kid to remove and called on Jesus.
Oh.
And I just was thinking, first of all, I was like I didn't know, I didn't see this coming. And it was someone we'd known for a long time who worked for my parents, but not in this capacity, but they were just, in a pinch, they sort of came over or whatever. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And then I was also thinking, oh my gosh, if my parents knew you were doing this, they'd be so mad.
Question I have is, did it work?
I was just going to say that.
Rabbi?
No, it still hurts.
I was just going to say, is the headache gone? Because it worked then.
All right, let's get back to, it looks like we got everybody back. We're going to go back to our screen and share. Okay, so I imagine many of you have had some experience where someone, sought to convert you, or someone, you flip on the TV and there's someone talking about the good news of Jesus Christ. So it's, it's sort of unavoidable. But like I said, we're not the first generation of Jews who's had to deal with this. And not just among Christians, but just even, among fellow Jews who might get caught up in messianic fervor. For Jews, the reason we are not Christian is not because, Christianity per se. It's because, we're just not following any of these, branches or offshoots. Christianity for us was just one of many. And I want to look here at an early rabbinic text, Avot de Rabbi Natan. This is, early. This is probably from around the 3rd century. And it comes right after this time of where there was a lot of popular messianic, traditions, most famously Bar Kokhba, who led the Jewish people to a second revolt against Rome. And he and his followers felt that he was the Messiah, and it led to a horrible, devastating blow from the Romans who put to death a third of the Jewish people during that revolt. It was just a terrible time for the Jews. And so consequently, Messianism went out of favor among Jews. Jews were suspicious of it. Anyone who got all caught up in the Messianic spirit because of, of the terrible consequences of what happened there. So this now, written maybe a century later, reflects that era and really kind of reflects the Jewish view ever since. And that is a skepticism about people who claim that the Messiah has come. When I say ever since, there have definitely been messianic movements since then. And we right now in our 21st century are in the midst of a very significant messianic movement among Jews today, but we'll get to that in a moment. Avot Rabbi Natan said, and I love this passage, it's so witty and so like dry humor that you just got to appreciate a good writer. If you should happen to be holding a sapling in your hand when they tell you the Messiah has arrived, first plant the sapling and then go and greet the Messiah. Now, the Messiah has arrived and you're supposed to greet the Messiah. I mean, this is cataclysmic. This is the end of the world, sent by God, the Messiah. And what Rabbi Natan is saying is, finish what you're doing, don't rush, and then go, like the Messiah can wait a minute, it definitely speaks against a fervor. And it's not just finish what you're doing, but what is the act? The act is planting a tree. And to plant a tree is an act of future anticipation. No one plants a tree to eat fruit that day or enjoy shade that day. You plant it so that you can have fruit in a few years and shade in a couple decades. So if the Messiah has come, that's the end of the world. There's no use for the tree. Avot Rabbi Natan says, plant the tree. It's probably not the Messiah. It's a brilliant, droll, wry, dry, fabulous humor that kind of, sticks it to the people who hold the other position, and one of my favorite passages. I talked about different messianic movements. Jews have, I said Christianity was not terribly popular among Jews, but other movements have been popular. And most famously is Shabbatai Tzvi. And I want to take a moment make sure everybody knows about Shabbatai Tzvi, because look, there's been Jacob Frank, there's been other messianic pretenders who did get a significant following among Jews. Tens of thousands of Jews who thought that this person was the Messiah. I say person, this guy. There's been no movements following a woman yet, but the future can still bring one maybe. But none was more consequential or popular than Shabbatai Tzvi. Shabbatai Tzvi was in the 17th century, and the peak of his popularity was in the late 1650s, early 1660s, and right up until September 1666 was the very climax and peak of his popularity. How popular was Shabbatai Tzvi? The majority of Jews in the world in the 1660s believed that the Messiah had come and his name was Shabbatai Tzvi. Let me restate that. The majority of Jews in the world in the 1660s believed that the end of the world was upon us, the Messiah had come, and his name was Shabbatai Tzvi. Shabbatai Tzvi was a Turkish Jew, and he, went, in a traditional life, but he rebelled really from an early age and had some radical beliefs. and early on in his life believed himself to be the Messiah. This was a fertile time for Messianism among Jews and actually among Christians too. Millenarianism, particularly in England, had swept through England, and so there were a lot of Christians that felt like the end of the world was nigh, and some Jews did too. But also in around 1650 was the Khmelnytsky massacres. I spoke about them this past year on Yom Kippur, talking about what times that have been very bad for Jews. The Khmelnytsky massacres killed anywhere from 40,000 to 100,000 Jews. About a third of the Jews of Europe died in that uprising, a Ukrainian uprising against the Poles. And they slaughtered the Jews. It was utterly, utterly devastating for the Jewish world. That was in the 1650s. And the Jews were so shaken by this. It was the Holocaust of that era and similar in scale. There weren't that many Jews back then. I mean, the great growth of the Jewish world happened in the 1700s in terms of demographic population expansion and in the 1800s. But so a third of the Jews of Europe were killed then. Jews were devastated. So they were ripe to believe that the end of the world was here. And Shabbatai Tzvi was saying it, and he was acting outrageous. He said, now that the Messiah has come, what had been our fast days of mourning, like Tisha B'Av, are now feast days, and encouraged everyone to party on Tisha B'Av, and they did. He held a huge wedding for himself, a very traditional wedding, where he married the Torah. And I mean, he did all kinds of radical things and gained enormous following, including some very wealthy people who funded his movement. And then ultimately, he married a woman who was very charismatic, and they were sort of fixed up to be together. And the movement grew and grew. So in the 1660s, in synagogues around the world, they added inserts into the prayer book with his picture and a prayer for Shabbatai Tzvi in the vast majority of synagogues in the world. It was an extremely popular movement. Most Jews of that era believed him to be the Messiah, up until the moment that the Sultan or whoever the head of the Ottoman Empire, who had imprisoned him in 1664 or 5, but he lived very well in the prison because he had so many wealthy patrons who paid for him to live large within the prison. Finally, there was so much unrest among the Jews who were doing crazy things. They were selling all their property and going to Jerusalem, and because they thought the end of the world was here. The Sultan said, "This has gotten out of hand, and today you have a choice. You're either going to die or convert to Islam." And Shabbatai Tzvi converted to Islam along with his wife and his 300 principal followers who were with him around that prison. And it was a terrible disappointment to the Jews of the world. And in that moment, the vast majority of Jews no longer believed him to be the Messiah, although a significant minority continued to, so much so that up until the 20th century, his purported gravesite in Turkey was a pilgrimage site that some Jews continued to flock to even into the early 20th century, who still maintain that belief, now passed through the generations for 300 years. That's, or 250 years. That's a very amazing and influential messianic movement. There have been others. None have been more successful than that one. And in that regard, Christianity doesn't even come close to that kind of success of convincing Jews that, that the Messiah had come. By the way, I mentioned earlier that we right now are living through an era of a significant messianic movement among Jews. Who is it that a significant number of Jews believe right now is the Messiah? Go ahead.
Nearson.
So Chabad, or the Lubavitchers, they believed that their rabbi, Schneerson, was the Messiah. Then the problem is he died, and
They don't
messiahs are not supposed to die. They're supposed to bring about, the end of the world, and they're not supposed to die. Now, the Chabadniks, the Lubavitchers, say, well, he's just gone up to spend some time with his wife in heaven, and then he's going to come down again. But again, that's a problem, because that's not part of the Messianic lore. It's part of Christian lore that you have a second coming of the Messiah, but that is not a Jewish custom. Once a Messiah dies, a potential Messiah or a Messianic pretender dies, that's it. Their movement usually ends or greatly diminishes. What's curiosity is what the Lubavitchers, the Chabad, are going to do about this. He's been dead now, what's it been, 20 years. It seems to be a split in Chabad right now, where about half continue to believe he's the Messiah, and about half are not saying he's not, but aren't as adamantly saying so. And the question is, what's going to happen? Is it going to split Chabad in two? Are they going to continue to believe he's the Messiah? If they do, will the rest of the Jewish world continue to think that Chabad is Jewish because are they going to be their own religion because they are Messianic believers in Schneerson as the Messiah? Who knows? But we are living in interesting times, and here's one more reason, or one more thing about our era that's very interesting. Unless there's some immediate important questions. Yes, Cindy, go ahead, unmute yourself.
So you're saying a Lubavitcher group is Messianic?
Oh yeah, they believe.
So that's an oxymoron.
Well, it's right, because if they continue in this, if they continue to believe that a dead man is the Messiah, then that's anathema to Jewish tradition. But let's also keep in mind that Chabad is not traditional Orthodox. Chabad is a very radical, unusual branch of Judaism. They follow a text that no one else follows called Tanya. They have their own customs and culture that were unknown to our ancestors 300, 400 years ago. They adopt the dress and many of the Jewish religious cultures to make them seem like they're traditionalists. But in fact, they're very radical in many of the things that they do and espouse, which is unique to them, Lubavitcher Judaism or Chabad. But if they keep saying that this dead man is the Messiah, at some point, the rest of the Jews are going to look at each other and being like, that's it, you're out. I mean, like, you can't keep doing that. But for now, the rest of the Jewish world is kind of waiting and seeing on this. All right, unless there's other, all right, so let's go back to, oh, by the way, I can't check the text. So if, Janet, if you see that there's some very important chat that needs to be said, let me know, because what I can't have is everybody watching me read, because that's really boring. All right, so let's get to our screen share here. let's get to next. All right. I had called on readers before. I think it was a Lynn and an Alice. Can I ask one of you to read the next passage? This is Isaiah. This is Isaiah chapter 11. And the reason I bring this here for you is because this is really one of the paradigmatic prophetic passages that describe the messianic future. Someday the world is going to be better than this one. That is the great Jewish hope. Now, sometimes some Jews believe this and some Jews believe that, but we have been united in this messianic belief that someday the world will be right, that the world now is not all right. There's injustice, there's hardship, there is suffering, there's disease, there is, all kinds of violence and bad things in this world. Someday the world will be right. That is a unifying belief of the Jewish people. And it's based on these prophetic texts that speak not of a time when the world's going to be pretty good, but of a time when the world's going to be right. And this is why Jews don't believe that Jesus is the Messiah, because the Messiah is going to bring about the world that's right. The world that is, the new world, the new dawn, Olam Haba, the world to come, when it will be in Eden again, when things will be ideal. And so Isaiah gives sort of the paradigmatic vision, but other prophets shared this as well. Can I ask for the other Lynn or Alice to please read this passage?
I'll be happy to.
Thanks.
The wolf shall dwell with the lamb, the leopard lie down with the kid, the calf, the beast of prey, and the fatling together, with a little boy to herd them. The cow and the bear shall graze, their young shall lie down together, and the lion, like the ox, shall eat straw. A babe shall play over a viper's hole, and an infant pass his hand over an adder's den. In all of my sacred mount, nothing evil or vile shall be done, for the land shall be filled with devotion to the Lord, as water covers the sea.
I applaud not only your excellent reading, Alice, but also the words themselves. This is our hope. I got goosebumps again. And I've read this passage many times, but this is it. This is our hope. And I don't read it literally. I'm not looking forward to a time for, when lions are going to eat straw and babies can play with snakes. But I'm reading it metaphorically that there's going to be a time of real peace with nothing vile, nothing evil. And I mean, where the beasts of prey and, and cows will just hang out together. It's going to be a complete upheaval of nature itself and the nature of humanity. It'll be so wonderfully peaceful. Why don't Jews believe that Jesus was the Messiah? Because this hasn't happened yet. That's why every messianic pretender who's come and gone has failed this test. They didn't bring about our expectation. Now, Christians have tried to, frame Jesus in ways that match our messianic expectations. They very carefully draw his lineage to be from King David, like the Messiah is supposed to be, and that he rode a donkey like the Messiah is supposed to, and so forth. They tried really hard to package Jesus in a way that would be palatable to Jews to see him as the Messiah. But ultimately, there's only one test for the Messiah. You either bring about this world or you don't. Jesus came and he's gone, and we still have violence, we still have illness, we still have injustice, we still have things wrong in this world. And as long as that's true, the Messiah hasn't come. Proof, period, done. With that, I want to switch now to two important modern texts. And the first is from Rabbi Leo Beck. Those of you who've been members of the temple for a while know that I have, and Elaine does too. Elaine and I have a very special love for Leo Beck. We named our middle son after him, Leo Beck Glickman. So we're fans. So it should come as no surprise that if, you know, that it's somewhere along the way during these 6 sessions that Leo Beck wouldn't come in. But I think you'll also see a little bit here why we love Leo Beck. Mostly it's because of what he did in his life, but secondly, because of his writings. What he did in his life is he stayed in Germany when the Nazis wanted him to leave because he wouldn't leave his people. And stayed in all the way through Theresienstadt. And so in his life, he is heroic, but in his words, he is utterly insightful. Leo Beck sees the Jewish minority position as being defining of our character. And he says it's what we contribute to the world. We go against the grain, we go against the flow. We ask questions when other people accept things blindly. That's our place, and sometimes we suffer because of it, but that's what, you know, God wants of us. It's a special mission of the Jewish people. And obviously I find that philosophy, among other things that he said, to be deeply profound. This is a similar statement along those lines. Rabbi Leo Beck, I think the other Lynn, would you be willing to read Rabbi Leo Beck?
Sure. It requires religious courage to belong to a minority such as Judaism. Always has been and always will be. It requires ethical courage to be a Jew when all worldly comforts, honors, and prizes lure us to the other side.
Thanks, Lynn. I don't think people could hear Lynn so well, but I hope you could see the words here. We've been talking about why Jews aren't Christian. I needed to put this in here to acknowledge that sometimes Jews sacrificed a lot to not be Christian. Sometimes that meant their career. When you couldn't be appointed, you know, a faculty member at a university or even get to a university, when you couldn't enter a guild, when you couldn't rise higher in the political ranks, whatever it is, when you were tempted to convert to Christianity because it would make your life better, you would advance your career, your shop would be, you know, you would get richer, and still Jews stayed loyal. That I just wanted to acknowledge that. And some Jews even risked their lives and even faced death, unwilling to convert. And I wanted just to acknowledge that it's more than just a philosophical issue about, you know, what you believe and, you know, or staying loyal. Sometimes it's come with tremendous sacrifice. And Leo Beck wrote this. I mean, Leo Beck didn't just live through the Holocaust. I mean, he was the leader of the German Jews during the Holocaust. It's not like he wasn't aware of the sacrifices Jews made to be Jewish. Next, I want to go to Britain, to a rabbi named Edmund Flegg. And he wrote this passage that I believe, I would guess that most of you have heard at least once or read a dozen times. He wrote a poem not unlike others who have done similar things to write down, you know, the essence of Judaism to them or what they love about Judaism. Frankly, I did it myself a couple years ago when I wrote the letter to young people, you know, my young relatives, you know, why to be Jewish and how much I love Judaism and want it for you. It's not like others haven't done it, but Edmund Flegg just did it really, really well. Alice, would you mind taking another turn as a reader and read for us, please, the Edmund Flegg poem, I Am a Jew Because?
I am a Jew because the faith of Israel demands of me no abdication of the mind. I am a Jew because the faith of Israel requires of me all the devotion of my heart. I am a Jew because in every place where suffering weeps, the Jew weeps. I am a Jew because at every time when despair cries out, the Jew hopes. I am a Jew because the word of Israel is the oldest and the newest. I am a Jew because the promise of Israel is the universal promise.
Sorry, I'll fix that.
Okay. I am a Jew because for Israel, the world is not yet completed. We are completing it. I am a Jew because Israel places humanity and unity above the nations and above Israel itself. I am a Jew because above humanity, Israel places the unity which is divine.
So, Edmund Flegg wrote this now almost 100 years ago, and it's been popular ever since. I have to say, I've always liked it personally, because it helps me articulate what I love about Judaism, and that's where I want to go for the culmination of this talk. The main reason we're not Christian is not because of any fault of the Christians, it's because our religion is awesome and we love it. And this, as you know, this class came out of confirmation class. And what we did here is I put to the confirmation kids a reflection. What would you list as your principal reasons to be Jewish? Now, today we spent a lot of time, because you had a lot of questions about Christianity. The kids were not as curious about Christianity. So we, in the class with the kids, we spent half of our time on this section, on what they loved about being Jewish. That's really where the kids were more interested in. I would like to ask you to do take a personal moment here and just jot down at your desk or table, wherever you're sitting, the reasons that you're Jewish. Jot down the reasons that you're Jewish. You can use some of Edmund Flegg's or others, but why do you choose Judaism when other religions are out there? Why is Judaism, it's not that they're bad, that Judaism is just better. Why is Judaism the best for you? All right, I want to go ahead and invite people to unmute yourself and share one. We're going to do a whole bunch, so just share one and we'll go on to the next one.
I put that, I put that the reason I love Judaism is that there's a reason for everything and it all makes sense.
That's nice.
I put a combination of two things. One is my parents and the other thing is Hitler.
Yes.
Powerful.
We invite others.
It makes me proud.
What do you do? Just unmute yourself. If you want to say something.
I have two of them. It teaches ethics better than other religion in my mind, and it requires what he said, no abdication.
All right, she got cut off, but I want to second what Ellen said. I loved his first statement. It's partly what I love about it, because before he said it, or actually he said it before I was born, right? But before I ever read it, it never occurred to me how precious it is that Judaism never makes us say something we don't believe. We're never forced on a dogma. We don't have to say anything that's ridiculous or pledge something that we know is false. It doesn't treat us as mushy minds. It treats us as sophisticated intellectuals who have the free will to think for ourselves. And before Edmund Flegg said it, or before I read him saying it, it never occurred to me. And I love it. And I love that he listed it as number one.
Rabbi, I agree with exactly what you're saying, but I feel that's why I'm a Reformed Jew.
Right.
More than just a Jew.
Good.
Well
And
said.
so is Edmund Flegg.
Yes.
Yeah.
Rabbi, I agree with what you said also. I put down like the freedom to think and feel and not to be criticized. And that's what I like about it, that I can question and I don't have to be afraid.
Yeah.
And for me, the reason I like being a Jew is because we are God's partners in repairing the world.
Yes.
We aren't just expecting it to be done by God.
Yours, just say it, forget it.
That's essentially what I said.
It connects us to connects us to God, to the universe, and we're part of it, and we can make it better.
What?
I like that it is the sense of community and taking care of each other.
Yeah, I was never one for any religion until I chose Judaism, and I feel that I agree with some of the other things, that it seems to be a religion that requires you to think for yourself.
Yes. I agree. It also makes me feel at home.
You're encouraged to ask questions, and think for yourself. They don't tell you what you have to believe.
It's what we do here in our life on earth that counts.
The values that steer us to protect the vulnerable.
My love for the religion is because it is so ethical.
It teaches you to have a good life and to treat everybody well.
And they tell you to feed your pets before you eat.
Got that, Poppy? Got that?
It teaches you about the goodness in others.
Yeah. I like our list. So I want to get back to our kids for a moment. By the way, our list was very similar to Edmund Flegg. I don't believe he emphasized the peoplehood like we did here, the sense of being part of a big family. But other than that, I think he did hit on most of, the ethical, being part of something beyond ourselves, being part of something ancient, being part of a unified God, working with God. These things I felt he really just articulated so beautifully. And now after 100 years, it still sounds really good. We put the same challenge before our confirmation kids. And I asked them, we read Edmund Flegg, we studied it, and said, all right, what's your list? A couple things surprised me. Well, one thing didn't surprise me, that they put the peoplehood down and being part of a family. In fact, it's so funny that Joanne said that, because so did her grandsons.
Wow.
So well done, Joanne, for passing down the values to your own grandsons who had the same statement. They also, one of the things that the kids responded that they really liked about Judaism that I never would have guessed. They said the holidays, I would have guessed that. They said the family and peoplehood, I would have guessed that. Here's one I didn't guess that Edmund Flegg wrote that I wouldn't have written, but the kids did. They loved being part of something ancient.
Wow.
Wonderful.
How would I know that that would have been one of their top reasons what they love Judaism? That they love being part of something that's older than anything else that any of their friends are doing.
Wow.
Like that. And so let's take a quick look. This is from 2015. This is what the confirmation class wrote. They wrote their individual ones, then they presented in the class, and then they called it, and then they voted. And this is what they came up with together as a group. This is from 4.5 years ago, confirmation class. I am a Jew because previous generations made sacrifices to faithfully keep the covenant. I am a Jew because future generations should carry on the traditions. That sounds like Marlies too, about, you know, what we said earlier, that, you know, you have to keep it going because your parents did. I am a Jew because I affirm Jewish values. We heard that a lot among the room today. I am a Jew because I enjoy being part of something bigger than myself. I am a Jew because I am waiting still for an ultimate peace and messianic ideal. I am a Jew because the traditions and culture are beautiful. I am a Jew because I can affirm Jewish beliefs. I am a Jew because I like being part of a minority. I am a Jew because the Jewish people are my family. Confirmation class, December 2015.
Wow.
Friends, this culminates our session today and 6 sessions of confirmation classes, best of hot topics, Jewish views on the issues.
Thank you so much.
You are welcome, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Rabbi. Thank you. Thank you, Rabbi.
You'll be sending out the link for this, like the interfaith one, and
Absolutely. Links, you know, maybe we should send it as an email, all of the links, because individuals, I send them to Bonnie and to Judy, the recording links. And so when people ask the temple for it, you know, that they're ready to, you know, but we should probably send it as an email so that people could tune in if they want.
All right, great. I'll ask Judy to send it as an email.
But what problem with the recordings is when we go to discussion group, it's just blank space for 5 minutes and they miss out on the good talk.
Okay.
Rabbi? Thank you again, Rabbi. This has been wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That final thing that you showed us, Rabbi, from the confirmation class, can you send that to me or can you post that
Yeah,
somewhere?
absolutely. Send me an email and I'll reply back with it. We actually printed it in the bulletin that year because it was so awesome. I just loved our kids that they articulated so well. So we printed it in the bulletin because I was really proud of them.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I did a print screen, Rabbi. I did a print screen of
Oh yeah, here,
pages.
I'll put it up right now so you can hit print screen.
I'll do a print screen.
Here, go ahead and just hit print screen. Hit print screen on your computer. On your keypad.
One of the greatest parts
the keypad.
Print
screen.
I guess I would do it. One of the greatest parts of this declaration that those of us who are sequestered and alone has given us a chance to be with others. This
Did you check mail today?
mind-saving. It's been
Well, I'm glad you liked it. keep your eye out. Next week, we have the discussion with the head of the NAACP. And then in July, we're doing a series of conversations with really interesting people. I'm going to be doing one with one of our best friends who's an epidemiologist. And her work is her whole career has been in AIDS. But she's going to talk about coronavirus and how how viruses get transmitted. But then she'll also answer our questions about AIDS because her life's work is fascinating. And we're going to have a few interesting people that we're going to be interviewing. So keep your eye out in July for a really neat series coming up.
Great. Thank
Rabbi,
you.
it's Joanne Heidi.
Alan,
How do you
Hi.
do print screen?
Okay, so everybody just mute yourself when you're not talking. It's the polite thing to do on Zoom. So go ahead and mute yourself. The way you do print screen is on your keyboard. There is a button usually around the top right that says print screen. Sometimes you need to hit shift print screen or function print screen, or you can just hit print screen. But you want to look for a button in the top right of your keyboard that says print screen, or might be abbreviated print screen.
No. On Windows 10 version, it's you press the window, the key that says window, and then a PRT SCR, SC.
Yeah.
So you have to print both of those buttons.
Yeah. So it just depends on your keyboard.
How do you do it on an Apple?
I don't know. If you Google how do you do print screen, if you go to Google, you can find it.
And now once you have the print screen, whatever you just print, it just takes a picture of your screen, and now it's on your clipboard. Now in some programs, it'll come up as a picture on your file, like in Alice's computer. On my computer, it's saved on the clipboard, and then I have to paste it somewhere. Like I open up a Word document and paste it, and then it picks up. Or just send me an email, and I'll email it to you.
That's the easiest way.
Okay.
And but you have to do it today because my vacation starts tomorrow.
Oh, wonderful!
Have a
Days.
great vacation.
Have a great vacation.
I'm going to Paris and Hawaii. I'll be going to New Zealand
Glory.
and anywhere else the internet takes me.
Enjoy.
Have a good rest.
Have a great time. Great time.
Not even to Diamond Cove.
Did you look at the name of it?
I've got a lot of picture books you can borrow, photos we took it from all over the world. So
I like it. Well, actually, in all truth, Elaine and I went to Paris a couple days ago because we were supposed to go to France this summer for her 50th birthday. And so you can do these amazing walking tours. Just, they're available on Google, and, so we went around Paris on this walking tour. And, so someone stands there with this camera that's pointing in 15 directions simultaneously. So you can look up and left and right. So you're on the metro and you can look around and there are all these people, and then the camera takes you off the metro, and now you're on an escalator and you can look down, you can look up. Then you're on the street and you can look around and see the cafe, and then you can see some graffiti, and then, there's stairs, and you walk up, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're on the Eiffel Tower, and then you're on top of the Eiffel Tower, but you can look all around like you're there. It's super fun.
Could you send a connection to that?
Well, sure, but I just Googled virtual tour Paris, but I'll send you that one because that one was really, the one that started you on the metro was the most fun. It really, because, I knew Elaine wanted to see the Chagall ceiling at the Paris Opera because, Elaine's like super Jew. And if there's anything, of Jewish relation, she's got to see it. So, but you can go to that. That's not, and there you zoom in and zoom in and zoom in, and you can see the Chagall ceiling on your computer screen better than if you were in Paris. Because you're in Paris, you have to have binoculars to see the detail on your screen. You just zoom in, zoom in. So I don't know where we're going to go next, but Paris was fun.
Have you ever been to Brooklyn?
Brooklyn sounds great.
Go to Machu Picchu in the Galapagos. It's great.
They've got good virtual. I bet the virtual tour of Machu Picchu is amazing, because then you can be there at sunrise, you know, without a crowd.
Rabbi?
Yes.
It would take, I'm not asking for it now, but at some point during this series, you mentioned that there were like 12 or 18 classes that you have. Sometime in the future, not 6 in 2 weeks. I'm not asking for that. But could you like once or twice a year do the same thing with the other topics? Because this was
Well,
absolutely.
of course, I already gave you all the good ones.
Oh, okay.
No,
When
the
are
other
you
ones are good too.
When are you going to have a virtual tour of Temple Emanu-El?
High Holidays. So High Holiday, we just hired a cameraman and production man and now we're about to hire a sound technician. Look, we tried it at Passover Seder. Our goal was to make you feel like you were sitting at the Glickman's table. We are going to my goal, and I'm not sure we can actualize this yet, but my goal is that you will spend the High Holidays feeling like you are sitting in the front row of the temple, and you will see the rabbis, you know, at the podium, and you will see the soloists singing. Krim, you're going to see John make his faces. You're going to see John, you know, singing, "Oh, be no more good," you know, whatever he does with his face. I can't even do it.
Yes.
You know, I don't see it. You get to see John. I don't get to see him make the face
I
because
love
I'm
that.
facing
I
the
love
ark.
it. I love it.
I missed the best part of our High Holidays because I'm facing the ark, but I get to hear about it. So you're going to see the soloists, you're going to see, but we can't be there at the same time. So it has to be video overlaid where we reading and then the choir is singing and it's going to look like the choir is singing together, but they will actually be 40 feet apart from each other or 30 feet apart from each other.
Great idea.
So that's the goal, is for the High Holidays, and we're investing in it. We want this to be right.
Have a good day, everybody.
You too, Rini.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Okay, well.
Thank you.
And by the way, if anyone has any other ideas for adult ed, Janet is here.
Let us know.
And so go ahead and make your requests.
You have a fantastic holiday.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Vacation.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Any
much.
suggestions?
Everybody stay safe.
Janet, what was the other, remember was this class or there was another topic? What was that other topic we were debating back and forth on?
I don't remember.
You
I'd have to
remember?
check it back in my email.
Remember, because you liked the other one better, and then Ellen was like, "No, we got to do this one." And then you're like, "Yeah, we got to do this one." I can't remember.
I'll have to check my
was.
emails. I don't know. They're all good. They were all good. I'll check my emails though.
I will too, because now I'm curious.
Yeah.
But we could also there were other classes in confirmation. These were more linked in that they were hot topic-y. They were, not that they were political, but they were, that they were issues of controversy, like abortion,
Right.
death penalty, or something. That was more of the theme here.
Just checking.
Judy Shapiro, I never get to see you. I'm so happy to see you, Judy. Wait, you gotta unmute yourself for a minute. You're still muted, Judy. You have to mute yourself. You have to hit the microphone. It's still muted. Do you see the microphone on your screen? There's a microphone with a red line going across. You have to tap that. You're still muted. We can't hear you. Judy, you gotta unmute yourself by hitting the microphone that's got a red line across it. Oh, wait, there it is. I was able to do it for you.
Oh,
Now you're working, Judy. Say hi.
hello.
Hi, Judy.
I love that poem, I Am a Jew, and my printer is broken right now. So I was wondering if you could include it someplace.
Send me an email and I'll email it back to you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'm sure you could Google it too, Edmund Flegg.
Oh, I already did. I have it up on my screen.
Oh, you do? Oh, then I can't do better than that.
No, that's okay. I'm writing it out now.
Yeah.
Thank you. I enjoyed today very much.
I'm so happy to see you, Judy.
Yeah.
Are you doing all right? I haven't talked to you in months since this started. Are you all right?
I'm fine. I'm isolated and I'm fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you alone in your bubble?
Yes. I'm
Yeah.
alone in my book, but I'm in a residence. I live at Beneva and Fruitville, Arietta.
Sure. But are you socializing with other people in your residence or keeping your distance?
Mostly keeping my distance.
Yeah.
I'm very paranoid about this. I really am.
Well, for
Yeah,
good
you have
reason.
to be. Yeah, have to be.
You know, the lead of the New York Times yesterday was Florida's growth.
Yeah. But they are doing more testing. They're doing a lot more testing, but.
Yeah, it doesn't explain it. It doesn't explain why there's more people in the hospital.
No, well, no, people are out and about and that's inevitable, you know.
It's scary.
We're still very careful. Yeah, we're trying to be really careful. I think at our ages, we really have to be, you know.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to sign out. I imagine I'll be sending the kids, probably getting a lot of emails right now asking for copies of the kids' I'm a Jew. So I'm going to go send those out and maybe get a little lunch.
Thank you,
Bye,
Rabbi.
y'all. Bye, Joanne.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy your
Thank you.
vacation.
Thanks,
Fabulous
Nancy. Hi to Bill.
Thank you.